Welcome to Threads of Truth, the podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we're sailing into one of the most baffling disappearances ever recorded at sea. Imagine this, a family vacation, right? On a luxurious Caribbean cruise. The kind of trip that's all about relaxation, sun, fun. Sounds pretty perfect.
Absolutely idyllic, the dream holiday.
Exactly. But for one family, the Bradleys, this dream just shattered, unexpectedly turned into this complete nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Amy Lynn Bradley. She was 23, vibrant young woman from Petersburg, Virginia. And back in March 1998, she vanished, just gone, without a trace. From the Royal Caribbean ship, the Rhapsody of the Seas.
Vanished from a cruise ship. It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? A confined space.
It really does. And that's the core of the mystery. How does that happen? There were no clear clues left, just this tangle of conflicting stories, accounts changing.
And then these really unsettling sightings later on, unconfirmed, but consistent.
Exactly. Sightings that just twist the knife, you know? So our mission today really is to unpack what we know, look at the sources, try to piece together the timeline, which is messy.
Oh, very messy.
And examine the theories. Everything from an accident, falling overboard, to something much darker like human trafficking.
We want to understand why this case, after all these years, still perplexes people, still haunts the family, obviously, and resonates so much online and in true crime circles.
Let's get into it. Okay, so first let's talk about Amy herself. Who was she? Because understanding the person is key here, I think.
Definitely. Amy Lynn Bradley was 23, just graduated college in Petersburg, Virginia, really at the start of her adult life, full of plans.
Right, and descriptions of her, very vibrant, energetic.
Yeah, a real fitness enthusiast.
Yeah.
Loved running, staying active, and she loved music too, which becomes quite relevant later, unfortunately.
And this trip wasn't like some escape, right? She had things lined up.
Not at all. She was actually about to start a new job right after the cruise, excited about it. By all accounts, she was happy, stable, no signs of distress, no reason to want to disappear.
So this cruise, the Rhapsody of the Seas, leaving from San Juan, Puerto Rico, March 21st, 1998, it was a family affair.
The whole immediate family, her dad, Ron, her mom, Iva, and her younger brother, Brad. It was meant to be a celebration, a family bonding time.
Not the beginning of an enduring, heartbreaking mystery.
No, quite the opposite. And it is unsettling, isn't it, how quickly that kind of normal, fun, even luxurious setting can just flip, become the backdrop for something so dark.
The Rhapsody of the Seas. It was a big, modern ship for its time. Supposedly safe, comfortable.
State of the art, yeah. Yet this mystery unfolds right there on board. Now, leading up to the morning, she vanished. Specifically the night before, March 23rd. Amy was out and about on the ship.
Right, she was seen socializing.
Yes, quite a bit. She spent time with the ship's band. They were called Blue Orchid, apparently performing in the disco. There are actually photos from that night.
Photos of her dancing.
Yeah, dancing with the band's bass player. Seems pretty normal, right? Young woman on holiday, having fun.
Totally. But in hindsight.
In hindsight, every detail gets scrutinized, naturally. There were also reports that surfaced later from other passengers, maybe even some crew, suggesting certain staff members, particularly around the bars or entertainment areas, had been maybe a bit too friendly.
Overly friendly.
Yeah.
Or like actually flirtatious.
Some accounts use the word flirtatious. Again, maybe nothing on its own. But when you piece it together with the disappearance, it adds this unsettling layer, raises questions about who she interacted with in those final hours.
That context is crucial, I guess, as we move into the critical time frame. Okay, so let's get to March 24th, 1998. The morning she disappeared. This is where things get incredibly confusing. The accounts just don't quite line up.
They really don't. It's one of the major frustrations for investigators right from the start.
So the last confirmed sighting, when everyone agrees they saw her, what was that?
Okay, that seems to be around 2:30 a.m. Her brother, Brad, definitely saw her leaving their cabin. They were on the 9th deck, cabin A916.
Leaving with someone.
Yeah, with a male family friend who was also on the cruise. They're apparently heading to one of the ship's lounges or the disco. That part seems solid.
Okay, 2:30 a.m., leaving the cabin with a friend, but then Brad's story changes or gets disputed.
Well, yeah, this is the tricky part. Brad's initial account was that he went to bed maybe around 3:30 a.m. But then he said he woke up later, around 5:15 a.m., and saw Amy out on their cabin balcony.
Doing what?
He said she was smoking a cigarette and then maybe lay down on a lounge chair out there. But this specific 5:15 a.m. sighting is a huge point of contention.
Why? What's the issue?
It just doesn't quite fit with some other potential timelines. And even the family later seemed to question the certainty of that specific memory. Trauma and time can do strange things to recall.
Right. Okay, so that 5.15 sighting is shaky, but what is certain?
What's absolutely clear, sadly, is that by 6:00 a.m., when the family started waking up properly, getting ready for breakfast, Amy was gone.
And her stuff.
Left behind. Her shoes, her purse, her ID, all in the cabin.
That's huge. Shoes and ID left behind. That really doesn't suggest someone planning to leave, does it? Voluntarily, I mean.
Not at all. It points away from voluntary departure or even just stepping out for a long time. It immediately makes you think something happened to her rather than by her. And that immediately brings up a really critical and frankly painful question for any investigation like this. What vital information, what potential evidence was lost in those first few hours right after they realized she was gone?
Because the family started looking right away, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely frantic. They, along with maybe a few cruise line staff members, did this desperate informal search themselves, checking lounges, decks, places she might be.
But the official response from the cruise line? That's been criticized.
Heavily. And I think rightly so. From an investigative standpoint, the response was, well, shockingly slow and inadequate. The Rhapsody of the Seas only did a very limited superficial search, mostly around the family's cabin area.
They didn't, lock down the ship, secure it as a potential crime scene.
No. That's the staggering part. The ship wasn't secured. Exits weren't immediately monitored. There was no comprehensive search by trained professionals right away. And critically, maybe catastrophically, they allowed passengers to disembark as scheduled in Curaçao later that morning.
Wow. So potential witnesses or even someone involved could have just walked off.
Exactly. Without being properly questioned or identified. A full, formal search involving law enforcement didn't happen until the ship got back to Miami days later.
Days later. So much could have happened by then. Evidence disturbed, cleaned up.
Precisely. Think about it. Precious time was lost. Vital clues could have been contaminated, washed away, or just gone forever. It highlights a huge problem, really, with incidents at sea, jurisdiction issues, lack of clear protocols.
Especially back in 1998, maybe.
Yeah, potentially less standardized that. It's a fundamental challenge in these cases. Immediate professional action is everything, and it seems like that was sorely lacking here.
That delay, that whole initial response by the cruise line must have made things incredibly difficult for the FBI when they eventually got involved.
Oh, absolutely. The challenges were immense by the time they formally opened a case. Like you said, no body, no secured crime scene. It's working backwards with very little physical evidence.
Not like a typical case on land where you can cordon off an area, gather forensics right away.
Exactly. On a moving ship, crossing international waters, people getting off at different ports, crew changing, standard procedures become almost impossible to implement effectively after the fact.
So what was the initial theory, the one the cruise line and maybe the FBI leaned towards first?
Well, the most prominent theory initially was the overboard scenario, accidental fall.
Simple explanation, I guess?
It's often the first thought in disappearances at sea. The idea was maybe she'd been drinking, got disoriented near the railing, tumbled over into the ocean.
A tragic accident.
Yes. It offered a sort of neat, albeit terrible, explanation in the absence of anything else concrete. No signs of struggle, no immediate pointers towards foul play visible at that stage. It was perhaps the path of least resistance, explanation-wise. But, and this is a big but, that overboard theory, it was pretty much immediately and strongly rejected, especially by Amy's family. And they had some really compelling reasons.
Right. Her dad was ex-law enforcement, wasn't he?
Yeah, Ron Bradley, her father. He knew his daughter, and he was adamant. Amy was a strong swimmer, very capable in the water, but also, ironically, she had this deep fear of open water, almost phobic about it.
Afraid of water, but a strong swimmer.
It sounds contradictory, but think about it. Maybe because she was afraid, she made sure she could handle herself if she ever had to be in it. But she wouldn't voluntarily go near the edge, lean over railings, especially not late at night. He argued that even if somehow she did go over, her instinct, her strength, her fear, she would have fought, she would have screamed for help, she would just vanish silently.
Especially near Curaçao, relatively close to shore.
Exactly. The family and, legions of online sleuths who've dissected this case for years, they point to a bunch of things that just don't add up for an accidental fall.
Like what?
Well, number one, nobody was ever found, which near land in relatively warm waters is unusual. Number two, her state of mind. Happy, excited, looking forward to things, not someone likely to be reckless or despondent.
And the ship itself, the railings.
Yeah, the railings are designed for safety, quite high, plus all the weirdness around her last known hours, the conflicting stories.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fit the simple accident narrative.
So connecting the dots, her personality, the lack of evidence for a fall, the environment, it really pokes holes in that initial theory. Suicide too, presumably, given her state of mind.
Absolutely. Suicide was ruled out very early on by everyone who knew her. It just didn't fit the picture of Amy at all.
Okay, so if we put the overboard theory aside, because the family strongly rejects it and the facts don't quite support it, what other explanations have been floated? We need to kind of systematically look at these.
Right. Let's reconsider the accidental fall just from a physical standpoint for a second.
Okay.
We mentioned the railings were high, standard safety height, around 42 inches. That's well over a meter. It's actually quite difficult to just accidentally tumble over something that high unless you're, climbing on it or there's some external force.
And she was fit, you said, not likely to just lose her balance so catastrophically.
Unlikely. A simple stumble probably wouldn't do it. So just the physics involved make a pure accident seem improbable. Add her known fear of water. It pushes the probability down even further.
Then the suicide angle. We touched on it, but just to be clear.
Ruled out.
Right.
Swiftly, definitively. By family, by investigators as much as possible. Just graduated, new job, happy, excited. There were zero mental health red flags reported by anyone.
No signs of depression, no notes, nothing.
Nothing at all. It's a common consideration in missing persons cases, of course. But here, it just doesn't align with anything known about Amy. It was dismissed very quickly.
Okay, and what about... This crops up sometimes in these cases. The idea she just decided to leave, voluntary disappearance.
That's a fringe theory, yeah. You see it in online forums sometimes. The idea that maybe she wanted to ditch her life, start over, maybe slipped away at a port.
But the evidence
Completely contradicts it. As we said, she left everything behind. Purse, wallet, ID, clothes, shoes, everything.
You don't start a new life with literally nothing. No money, no identification.
Exactly. People planning to disappear usually take essentials. Cash, ID, something. Leaving it all makes zero sense for a planned departure. Plus, her family's massive public search efforts over decades, the lack of any financial footprint from her, it just doesn't hold water at all.
It's interesting how these standard theories get proposed almost automatically.
It's human nature, I think. We want an explanation, something logical.
But in Amy's case, the specific facts just seem to shoot down accident, suicide, and voluntary disappearance pretty effectively, don't they?
They really do, which leaves us staring at the darker possibilities. Absolutely right. And when you systematically knock down those other explanations, you're really forced to confront the one theory that has gained the most traction over the years, particularly with the Bradley family themselves, and that's abduction, leading potentially to human trafficking.
That's a terrifying thought, but it's the dominant theory.
It's become the most widely accepted, yes, not just pure speculation either. Gains its strength, tragically, from those multiple unverified sightings we mentioned earlier. Sightings of a woman believed to be Amy, often in places known as hot spots for sex trafficking, especially in the Caribbean.
It taps into that real-world horror, doesn't it? The vulnerability of travelers, especially young women.
It does. Human trafficking is a horrific global reality. It preys on vulnerability, often using coercion, threats, sometimes drugging, confiscating passports. It's a chilling possibility that unfortunately becomes more plausible when someone vanishes so completely without any other explanation making sense.
Okay, let's talk about these sightings then, because they are so central to this theory, and they're what keeps hope, however grim, alive for the family. Where does it start?
The first really notable one was actually quite soon after she disappeared. Later, in 1998, an American tourist, Judy Moorer, was in Barbados. She claimed she saw a woman in a brothel there.
Who identified herself as Amy.
Yes, according to Moorer, the woman said her name was Amy Lynn Bradley and that she needed help, that she was being held against her will.
Wow, that sounds specific.
Extremely specific.
Right.
But there's a frustrating detail. Moore noted the woman had a mermaid tattoo on her stomach,
And Amy's tattoo was.
a Tasmanian devil
Wow.
on her shoulder. Completely different tattoo, different location.
So a major discrepancy. Did the FBI look into it?
They did. They investigated the claim in Barbados, but ultimately, the sighting was never confirmed. Was Moore's mistaken? Was the woman lying about the tattoo or even her name? Was it someone else entirely? We just don't know. It's a compelling lead that hit a dead end.
Okay, then what? Were there others?
Yes, the following year, 1999, also in Barbados. This time, it was a U.S. Navy petty officer named Jason Adams.
What did he report?
He said he was in a bar, and a woman approached him, urgently whispered, "My name is Amy Bradley, and I need help."
Oh,
But then, almost immediately, she was supposedly pulled away by a couple of men before he could react or find out more.
another direct claim of identity, but again, fleeting and unprovable.
Exactly. Incredibly tantalizing. A direct plea for help, seemingly. But with no way to track down the woman or the men involved afterwards, it remained another unverified lead. Just a glimpse that couldn't be solidified. The elusiveness is maddening. But then, fast forward a few years to 2005, this is where we get the Amy photo. And honestly, this is probably the most compelling and yet deeply frustrating piece of potential evidence in the whole case.
Okay, tell me about this photo.
All right, so early 2005, a U.S. Navy officer was apparently browsing some, let's just say, less reputable parts of the internet, specifically a website featuring content from Caribbean brothels.
Okay.
And he comes across this photograph. It shows a woman, apparently in lingerie, posing seemingly in a brothel setting in Curaçao. And the woman, she bears this absolutely striking resemblance to Amy Lynn Bradley.
Yeah.
Like, uncanny.
It's just a resemblance or more.
Because, crucially, visible on her shoulder in the photo is a tattoo, a Tasmanian devil tattoo, the exact same, quite distinctive tattoo that Amy had in the same location.
Wow. Not a mermaid, the actual tattoo.
The actual tattoo. The officer recognized the potential significance, immediately contacted authorities, and eventually the photo made its way to the Bradley family.
How did they react?
Devastated, naturally, but also galvanized. They are absolutely convinced that the woman in that photograph is Amy. It's horrifying for them, implying she's alive but trapped in that life.
Right.
But it's also, in a terrible way, confirmation that she might still be out there.
And the FBI. What came of their investigation into the photo?
That's the frustrating part. Despite the family's certainty and the compelling nature of the image, the FBI's investigation haven't, as far as we know publicly, yielded any confirmed leads or positively identified the woman as Amy.
Why not? It seems so specific.
Think about the source. An anonymous photo on an illicit website, possibly years old by the time it was found. Verifying its origin, the date it was taken, the identities of people involved, especially across international borders and in that kind of underworld, it's incredibly difficult. But for the family, that photo remains the strongest piece of evidence they have.
And there was another sighting around that same time, 2005, also in Curaçao.
Yeah, adding another layer. Around the time the photo surfaced, another witness came forward. An American tourist, vacationing with her family, claimed she saw a woman who looked very much like Amy in a department store there.
Okay, just saw her. Or was there more?
There was more. The woman was with a man, a male companion. And the witness got the strong impression that the woman was afraid of him, like visibly intimidated, under his control. She even thought the woman shot her a quick glance, almost like a silent plea for help.
Chilling. That aligns directly with the trafficking theory, doesn't it? Coercion, control.
Exactly. Again, unconfirmed. But it fits the narrative suggested by the photo and the earlier sightings. These accounts, taken together, weave this consistent, terrifying story for the family that Amy was abducted and forced into that life.
So beyond these sightings, which are powerful but unproven, there's also the question of, could someone on the ship have been involved? Or was it just extreme negligence?
That's a persistent question, absolutely. We know Amy was interacting with the band Blue Orchid, dancing with the bass player that night.
And the reports of some crew being overly friendly.
Right. So naturally, suspicion falls, did someone she met on board, crew or otherwise, facilitate this? Could they have been involved in an abduction? It's certainly plausible in the closed environment of a ship.
The ship environment itself. Transient passengers, crew from all over. It seems like it could hide things.
It can. But maybe more concrete, or at least more demonstrable, is the criticism of how the cruise line handled the immediate aftermath. The failure to lock down the ship, the delay in a proper search, allowing people to disembark.
Does that fuel suspicion of insider involvement or just incompetence?
It fuels both, depending on who you ask. Some wonder if the lack of immediate action was designed to protect the cruise line's reputation or even cover something up. Others see it as a catastrophic failure of protocol and training, pure negligence that allowed a window for disappearance or abduction to occur without immediate challenge.
The fact they just sailed on to the next port, it seems incredible now.
It really does. It speaks to a system, perhaps, that prioritizes schedules and minimizing disruption over immediate crisis response and investigation. And that failure, whether deliberate or negligent, created the conditions for this mystery to endure.
So let's try to pull these threads together. We've got the disappearance itself, the failed initial response, the debunked theories, and these persistent disturbing sightings. What does it all add up to?
It adds up to an enduring enigma, really. The case is defined by these huge question marks.
Like the conflicting accounts of her last hours.
Okay.
Especially that 5:15 a.m. sighting.
Exactly. That ambiguity clouds the entire timeline. Are investigators dealing with a memory distorted by trauma or something else? It makes finding a starting point incredibly hard.
And the lack of a crime scene. No struggle, no blood, nothing concrete on the ship itself.
A complete forensic void, essentially, which leaves investigators chasing shadows, relying heavily on witness accounts and those later sightings.
And those sightings, they're the core of it now, aren't they? The unconfirmed glimpses that offer hope but also suggest a terrible reality.
They are. The thread of truth, if there is one we can grasp, feels tied to the credibility of those sightings. Are they mistaken identity? Are they real? Could Lynn Bradley truly have been seen alive but captive years after vanishing from that ship? It's the question that haunts this case. And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about the power of an unconcerned sighting, how something so uncertain like that 2005 photo can become the absolute anchor for a family's hope and a driving force for continued investigation.
It's hope mixed with horror, though.
Completely. These sightings are the most compelling leads, yet they're profoundly frustrating because they remain unverified. They keep the possibility alive, preventing the case from being closed, but they offer no definitive answers, just more agonizing uncertainty.
Psychologically, for the family, clinging to that must be incredibly difficult.
Immense. The human mind needs closure, needs answers. When a loved one vanishes, any potential clue, any resemblance can feel like a lifeline. Even if the scenario it suggests is horrific, like trafficking, it's still an answer, or the possibility of one, which can feel preferable to the absolute void of not knowing anything at all.
So the trafficking theory, for the Bradleys, it's the one that fits the strange evidence they have.
It seems to be the one that aligns most closely with these persistent, albeit unproven sightings. It offers a narrative, however terrifying, that makes some sense of the senselessness of her disappearance. It gives them a direction for their search, a specific nightmare to fight against.
And looking beyond Amy's specific case, it really does throw a harsh spotlight on the difficulties of investigating anything serious on a cruise ship, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a perfect storm of challenges. You've got complex jurisdiction issues whose laws apply, the ship's flag country, the port country, the victim's home country. It gets messy fast.
Then the crime scene itself, a moving vessel.
Constantly changing, being cleaned. Evidence can literally be washed overboard or wiped away before anyone qualified even gets there. Plus, the passengers scatter. Key witnesses could be anywhere in the world within days.
And the crew, they're not necessarily trained investigators.
Not at all. They might be focused on passenger service, safety drills, but not forensic preservation or managing a complex investigation. The slow response, letting people disembark, it all points to systemic weaknesses. Amy's case is a stark cautionary tale.
A reminder that even in these controlled, seemingly safe environments, dangers exist and the response needs to be better.
Absolutely. There's a need for clear, internationally recognized protocols for disappearances at sea, more transparency, faster action, better training, to protect future travelers and to give families like the Bradleys the answers they desperately need and deserve. And ultimately, beyond all the theories, the evidence, the investigation, you have the human cost. The Bradley family's story is just profoundly tragic.
Decades of not knowing.
Decades. And they have never stopped searching, never given up hope. They run a website. They follow up on every tip. They keep her story alive in the media. It's this relentless pursuit of answers.
Living in limbo, That phrase seems apt.
It really is. Imagine that constant state. Every similar face you see, every news report about trafficking. It must trigger that hope and that fear all over again. Their dedication is incredible, a testament to their love for Amy.
It really grounds the case, doesn't it? Reminds you these aren't just files and theories, but real people suffering unimaginable pain.
Exactly. Their search underscores the heartbreaking reality behind every single cold case.
So the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley remains just that baffling unresolved, a stark reminder of how quickly things can change, how a dream trip can become this enduring nightmare.
The case is still open, fueled by that unwavering family hope and those deeply unsettling sightings that hint at a possibility almost too dark to comprehend, yet too persistent to ignore.
It leaves you wondering, will we ever truly know what happened on the Rhapsody of the Seas? Next time, we explore a woman who died unnoticed for years, yet her TV was still on. The case of Joyce Carol Vincent.